Wondra sits in a jail cell. He is back in Idaho, accused of killing young Michael Vaughan.
You're pure evil. You have no heart. You have no soul.
Wondra is accused of murdering her then 5-year-old son in 2021. Would you think you'll ever get the answer as to why?
No, because there is no answer to why. Why would somebody hurt an innocent little boy? What answer could you give? What answer could you possibly give? How scared was he? Did he ask for me? Did he ask for Tyler?
Stacey Wondra has been charged with first-degree murder and second-degree kidnapping and destruction of evidence.
Michael "Monkey" Vaughan went missing from his Fruitland neighborhood on July 27, 2021.
This is a criminal investigation.
Now, more than 4 years later, in newly unsealed court documents, Fruitland Police named 4 people they believed are involved in Michael's murder. Those 4 names are ones we've heard before.
This is Sarah Wondra. This is Sarah's husband, Stacey Wondra. This is Brandon Shirtliff, Adrian Lucian.
As for what these 4 people have in common, they were all staying at the Wondra's home when Michael disappeared in 2021. That's just half a mile from Michael's home where he was last seen. In the PCA, police pointed to video evidence they say showing Shirtliff walking around the neighborhood. They say Shirtliff helped move Michael's body in a duffel bag temporarily to his mom's home in Kuna before standing guard as they buried him in the Wondra's Fruitland backyard. Stacey Wondra told police the 4 hoped to sell Michael for $10,000 each. He says the idea came from Adrian Lucian. Idaho News 6 is now learning Lucian was arrested and released in Indiana in October for a traffic-related misdemeanor. Sarah Wondra is currently serving time in the Idaho State Prison System for unrelated charges. She is eligible for parole in early 2026.
Karen, is there any connection between the Vaughan family and the home where police had been searching?
No, we've heard this more than once from the family representatives and from the police department that there is no connection between the Vaughan family and the home where this search took place.
As you know, from the time Michael went missing, this has been an all-hands-on-deck investigation, and it remains very active and an ongoing investigation. You can't take one of our most precious citizens from us and ever expect us to stop. During the course of this investigation to date, we received credible information that the remains of Michael Vaughan could be found in the backyard at 1102 Redwing Street in Fruitland. As a result, the Fruitland Police Department obtained a search warrant for the residence along with the front and backyards. That search warrant was served on November 11th. It was a Friday. We served that late in the evening. Upon entry, officers encountered Sarah Wondra, one of the known occupants of the home, and Sarah was subsequently arrested based on probable cause that she had knowledge of Michael's death and failed to report that death to law enforcement. The following day, the Fruitland Police Department, joined by the Idaho State Police, the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, the Fruitland Fire Department, and the Fruitland Public Works Department, began a very methodical excavation of the backyard of the Wondra's home. During that excavation process, the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, Mountain States detection dogs deployed multiple certified human remains detection dogs on the property, all of them alerting to the presence of human remains. Ground penetrating radar was also used and deployed, detecting anomalies in the backyard. We completed the excavation of the entire backyard and removed over 250 yards of dirt. Prior to backfilling the yard, the dirt was meticulously sifted for any potential human remains. We did not find Michael's remains. Although the remains of Michael Vaughan were not recovered, we strongly believe, based on evidence, that Michael was abducted and is deceased, and that his remains were buried and later moved from the property. As of today, the whereabouts of his remains are unknown. However, the investigation is active, fluid, and ongoing. Once the excavation was complete, we conducted a thorough search of the Wondra's residence. The search was productive, and additional investigative evidence was recovered and is currently being processed.
An hour's worth of body camera footage showing Stacey Wondra FaceTiming with detectives and directing to where Monkey's body was buried in his backyard.
It's like right under that mound area.
It's right under the mound, about where at compared to the
trees? A little, like, right to the right of the trees area. It should be, it should be a garbage bag.
Okay, what color is the garbage bag?
It would either be white or black. We only had two colors.
Is the duct tape still going to be over his mouth?
It should be.
Okay.
I didn't want to take them off.
Okay.
So you should have everything intact as it was.
He claims he watched the burial happen.
Okay. How far down is Michael?
I don't know how far she actually dug.
And the she he's referring to, that's his wife Sarah, another suspect in the case. Stacey says Adrian, a third suspect, was also there for the burial.
Out of 300 homes, police say canines tracked Michael's scent to the home where Stacey, his wife Sarah, and their two roommates Brandon Shirtliff and Adrian Lucien lived.
As Joe mentioned, a newly released probable cause affidavit filed in June lays out the interviews following Michael's disappearance. Again, during these initial searches, police say canines tracked Michael's scent to the fence line of the home where Stacey Wondra, his wife Sarah, and their two roommates, Brandon Shirtliff and Adrian Lucien, lived. All four of those individuals have been named people of interest in Michael's disappearance. One of Michael's neighbors told police they saw Michael riding a bike outside of the Wondra's home the day that he disappeared. Another neighbor said they saw that same tricycle at the Wondra's home during a garage sale months before Michael disappeared. The Wondras initially denied any involvement, but then in November of 2022, Stacey asked to meet with investigators. The PCA states Stacey claims he was home the night Michael was allegedly abducted and saw Sarah carrying Michael into the house. Stacey allegedly told police it was Adrian's idea to take a child to sell for money, and they would get a $10,000 cut. Stacey claims Sarah told everyone to, quote, follow her lead. Stacey told investigators they took him to Brandon's mother's home in Kuna that night, where they left Michael overnight. Stacey claims the other three returned to Brandon's mom's house the next day and brought Michael back to the Wondra's home in Fruitland. Stacey told police Michael was not alive, and Sarah and Adrian buried him in the Wondra's backyard. 2 days after Stacey's interview with police, they executed a search warrant and excavated the Wondra's backyard. The affidavit says cadaver dogs alerted to the same area where Stacey told detectives Michael's body was buried, but to this day, Michael has not been found.
Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. It is April 23rd, 2026. Welcome into Missing PNW Crimes Revisited. It's so good to see everybody here. I hope you guys are having a wonderful, wonderful day. The live is early today. I have plans this evening. My girlfriend's birthday is today, and we're all meeting up to go out for a big dinner at a fancy restaurant, so we're super, super excited. Pretty Assessor is in the house. Thank you so much for being here. Rowan is here. McSporin is here. Thank you so much. We've got Lyard here. Thank you guys so much for coming. I appreciate you guys so very, very much. We've got Tara in the house. Thank you for coming in. McSporn, Private McSporn, reporting for duty, ma'am. All the way from Scotland, because Michael Vaughan and his case, his story has traveled across the world. Darlene is here. Thank you so much for being here. All in the tanks, thank you for being here. Amazing, amazing that so many people support the Vaughan family and Michael Vaughan. Alaska is in the house, and we have Carrie also here. Thank you so much for coming. Brandy's sis here. Justice for Michael Monkey Vaughan. Justice is coming, and there have been an arrest. There will be more arrests. Monkey's army is strong, and we're not going anywhere until everyone that has been named a suspect is in prison and faces charges for Michael's abduction and murder. Angel is here. Thank you so much for coming in. Justice for Monkey. Thank you guys all so much for being here. We are all here for Michael Joseph Vaughan, who was abducted July 27th of 2021 in Fruitland, Idaho. Michael Vaughan wandered away from the home while his dad was changing his baby sister's diaper and ordering some pizza for dinner. There are 4 named suspects: Stacey Wondra, Sarah Wondra, Adrian Lucien, and Brandon Shirtliff. Stacey Wondra has trial September 14th of 2026. He is being charged with first-degree murder, second-degree kidnapping, and destruction of evidence. Sarah Wondra will be arrested after her prison sentence that is unrelated to Michael Vaughan's abduction and murder. She will face those charges for first-degree murder, second-degree kidnapping, and destruction of evidence also October 27th of 2026. Adrian Lucien and Brandon Shirtliff have been talking about Michael's case. They want to play the victim. They want to play the blame game, say that they were both set up. But the knowledge that they have of Michael's abduction and murder puts them directly involved in Michael's abduction and murder, plain and simple. Adrian Lucien left Fruitland to never come back after a big argument with everybody in the house. I'm assuming because he wanted to make that $10,000. And that didn't happen, and he didn't want to get blamed for being the one who took Michael, or that was going to sell Michael so that they could all collect $10,000. Brandon Shirtliff came up with the idea to put Michael Vaughan in a duffel bag and take him to his mother's house in Kuna, Idaho, where Michael Vaughan stayed overnight with Brandon Shirtliff. Michael Vaughan was later moved back to Fruitland the next day, buried in the Wondra's backyard, and then moved by Brandon Shirtliff from the Wondra's backyard to an unknown location, as believed by not only law enforcement, but many other people. Brandon, and we want to know where Michael Vaughan is. Somebody out there has a tip that could really help this case, and if you have that tip, please call the Fruitland Police tip line 208-642-6006 or email findmichael@fruitland.org. Collect over $50,000 if your information helps find Michael Vaughan. You can also remain anonymous. Please let any tips be looked at by law enforcement to determine whether or not they're credible. Law enforcement will look into any credible tips. Again, that tip line phone number is 642-6006 or email findmichael@fruitland.org. No tip is ever too big or too small. If you see something, you say something. Don't let it bother you and make you think to yourself, you know, I know something and I should be saying it. If it's making you sick to your stomach, then you probably need to call law enforcement. Brandon Shirtliff has been brought up several times in Stacey Wondra's preliminary hearing, and you'll hear more information about Brandon Shirtliff come out as soon as we get to the end of all of the confession footage given to detectives. Stacey Wondra called detectives on November 5th and November 10th. He wanted to make the same deal with law enforcement that was offered to Sarah Wondra the month prior to him giving his confession in November of 2022. He did not get that deal because when they excavated the Wondra's backyard, Michael was not found and has not ever been found since, because Brandon Shirtliff moved Michael from the yard. Stacey Wondra has claimed that he was basically bullied to the point of a false confession by law enforcement. And as we have witnessed here, what Stacey Wondra doesn't want you to see, why Stacey Wondra is so very mad at me for getting all of this footage, is because he knows now that he is caught in another lie. Even his attorneys have seen this. They also know that he was not bullied into a false confession. His rights were not violated. He not only signed his rights once, but twice during these, the footage with detectives. They read him his rights and he signed those rights. He knew at any time that he could call in an attorney and stop the conversation, and he does not. He continues to speak with law enforcement, and they eventually end up going to excavate the backyard of the Wondra's house. Stacey Wondra has said that Michael was lured away on a tricycle. This tricycle was seen by many people. The dog, the scent dog by Dustin Witt, who was a bloodhound, tracked the scent of Michael to almost every location the tricycle was. And if you don't want to believe Dorothy Starkey saw Michael Vaughan, you don't have to believe that, but believe the scent dog did hit at the corner, the same corner that Dorothy Starkey says she saw Michael Vaughan. Bringing the facts here at Missing PNW is what we do. There are so many misleading and people spreading rumors in Michael's case currently. Please, if you ever have any questions, join our Michael Vaughan Case Revisited Facebook group. Come over, ask questions, get the facts, share Michael's beautiful face and smile and all of his information, which you can also find on the Michael Vaughan Case Revisited Facebook group. Again, if you have any information at all about Michael Vaughan's abduction or murder, or any information to give law enforcement about Stacey Wondra, Sarah Wondra, Adrian Lucien, or Brandon Shirtliff, please call the tip line 208-642-6006 or email findmichael@fruitland.org. We are Monkey's Army. We're not going anywhere. We are here at Missing PNW, here to, help bring justice to Michael Vaughan, to support the Vaughan family, and make sure to give out the facts, all of the facts. Let me just look through chat real quick. Thank you, Angel. Please hit that thumbs up. Sharing does help the algorithm, and it does get more awareness for Michael Joseph Vaughan out. Darzilla is here. Thank you so much for coming in. I did come on quite early today. I don't see... Oh, there's one of my moderators, Miss Mama. Thank you, Brandy, for coming in. I know it's an early one. I do have plans tonight, so I just wanted to put this up. I will be putting more premieres out as we go. We are almost finished with Stacey Wondra's entire preliminary hearing. We've got about an hour to go of this last clip of the 3-hour video footage, and then I believe we have 5 or 6 more videos to go over. All of them seem to be fairly short. Brandy says, And for those that don't know, this is Michael Vaughan's mother. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here and continue to support Michael and his justice. And we will always be here to support you, to support Michael and the entire family, because Michael Vaughan needs to come home to be laid to rest. All right. I hope everybody has plans for the weekend, or even if it's just to sit and relax, do something special for yourself. Get out, enjoy life. The sun's been out. Summer will be here soon. Stacey Wondra's hearing will be here soon. Sarah Wondra's arrest will be here soon. Time flies, and love your family. Spend time with your family. And if you need time to yourself, take time for yourself. Next week, I'll be leaving to go on a beach trip for the weekend, so I won't be here next Friday. I will try to be here as many days as I can. We've got an anniversary to celebrate, our 33rd wedding anniversary, and my husband's birthday is coming up. So I'm going to be taking time after going over the preliminary hearing to just have some time to myself to finish up my gardening. We've got lots of birthdays and trips planned in May, so I may take a week or two break. I haven't decided how long yet, but sometimes it's much needed, and it gives me time to do a lot more research to put out more information on Michael Vaughan and Kyron Horman. Thank you so much. Yep, 33 years. It's been a long time. Prayers up to Brandy Tyler and Michael Vaughan. Thank you so much for that. Truth Delight, thank you so much for being here. Good to see y'all. Justice for Michael and Brandy and family. It's always good to have you. Yeah. You don't see very many people together that long anymore. I know one or two couples that have been together for a long time. My parents were together my whole life, and you know, you go through the ups and downs and you stay together, and thank God we haven't had too many downs. I have an amazing husband, amazing support. I couldn't ask for anything better. Matter of fact, I wouldn't even be here on YouTube if it wasn't for my husband. He said, get it a computer, just buy it, just do it. And I'm like, I don't want to get up there and talk to people. I don't think I could do that. Who's going to come over and watch me anyway? He says, you have so much fun going on other people's lives. You just need to do it yourself. So I did. But I am so happy. I'm going to my home, away from home, going to the beach, doing all of the things. Did I see hair curlers in crime come in? Okay. If you are here, hair curlers in crime, I don't see you. Someone's saying hi to you. Right. So I am gonna put up this video and share. Can't do anything about the sound. If you can't hear, please read the caption, put your ear pods in. It is still Stacey Wondra, basically still lying, basically not giving too many facts. The only facts that Stacey Wondra give are, well, and we don't know for sure that they are facts, but what he has continuously repeated is that Sarah walked in with Michael Vaughan, that she took Michael Vaughan, that Adrian was with her. Then he also says that Brandon could have been with both of them, and that Michael Vaughan was duct tape put into a duffel bag and taken to Kuna and brought back from Kuna and buried in the Wondra's yard. we know that those things that he says are consistent. And I feel like I just got a roll call. I didn't see you here. Under Your Scars is here. Thank you so much for coming in. He's seen Michael in the living room. Fact. It is. I do not believe in any way, shape, or form that Stacey Wondra hid in the bedroom while all this was happening in the house. I don't believe that he told Adrian and Sarah, we need to call the cops, because who does that when somebody walks in the house with a kid? What he should have done was call 911 and call the cops and report Michael Vaughan abducted, but he doesn't do that. He says that he told Adrian and Sarah that that needed to be reported, which just sounds outrageous, because that's just not what you're going to do. Nor would Sarah and Adrian ever call and report something that they just did like that, knowing that they would be arrested and go to jail. It doesn't make sense. How did Stacey Wondra know everything that he knows had he not been in the living room and saw everything that happened to Michael? I also believe that, hey, Chaos Queen, thank you so much for coming in. I also do believe that Stacey Wondra plays a huge role in the abduction and murder of Michael Vaughan. I don't think he takes any responsibility for himself. I think he steers away constantly and deflects from having to do with anything of Michael Vaughan's abduction and murder. He was seen at a splash pad that afternoon, waving at children. He went to another park and sat there for a few hours before coming back to Fruitland. They were all out hunting for children. He wasn't as shocked as he claims to have been when Sarah Wondra walks in the house with Michael. Shannon is here. Thank you so much for coming in. Domestic Pinup, I see you. Thank you so much for coming. So good to see you. It's actually so very aggravating for all of us when we know that Stacey Wondra is a habitual liar to sit and listen to 9.5 hours of him changing his story. But again, like I said earlier, this is what Stacey Wondra doesn't want you to see. He doesn't want you to see him laughing with the detectives. He doesn't want you to see the detectives being nice to him, feeding him, even giving him chew because they know that he chews tobacco. He doesn't want you to see them giving him chocolate milk. You know, Juanita Kelleher absolutely 100% treats him like a real human being, even though we all know he's not. He's a monster, and puts up with it all, including him puking in a bucket or a garbage can instead of leaving the room because of the smell or whatever. She comforts him. And several times you even hear Chris Madonna comfort Stacey Wondra. Stacey Wondra doesn't want everybody to know that he wasn't interrogated to the point of a false confession. He hates that this information is being put out there. And that's one of the reasons why I'm glad I'm able to put it out here, because if I know something's pissing Stacey off or any of these suspects off, you can bet your ass I'm going to be here talking about it. So let's share the screen, start where we started off at. Like I said, we have just about an hour to go here. I will stop and add some commentary. I can't do anything about the sound. I'm sorry. I will put the captions on real quick so that everybody can at least read the captions. And of course, this video will also be added to the playlist of the raw footage without commentary so that anybody can go back and listen to it in case they, just want to listen to it without the commentary. If you're a creator and you want to use the information on your channel, please do so. Please use anything on my channel for either Michael Vaughan or Kyron Horman or any of the other children. That is what real advocates for children do. They share any and all of their information. I would never strike anybody for using information. And that's why it is put up raw without commentary, so that people like Michelle After Dark, Josh from the lab, anybody can use and add their own commentary. I actually like listening to it myself. So let's get started here, and I'll keep an eye on chat also.
Process. So let's like Scott said, today, and we're running out of daylight, quite frankly. Okay? We want to know if we take you from here and take you to that house, and you are the hero in this, we're on time. Does that make sense? Help us out on that idea. Because I think
You're the only one standing here being a man. Brendan took off, ran away. Adrian took off and ran away. Sarah, I don't even know what she's doing. She's saying, give me a deal or I won't sell you anything. You know how horrible and mean that is for her to say that to Michael's mom. Well, you give me this and I might leave your child back. That's just not right. And you're the one standing here, being a man, sitting in a room with detectives saying, help us find Michael. And you're saying, yes, I will help you. Because we know what happened was wrong and we can stop that pain and we can make the future right.
So we're going to sit here and listen. Okay?
Yes, Michael and Sarah, since was today.
We shall try learn about that, actually. You must. So what's the other piece that we check our we checked that backyard. You know exactly where Michael's buried.
Well, this is what I'm trying to tell you. It was pretty close to the backyard. By the porch area.
And here is where Stacey Wondra tells detectives that Michael was buried in their backyard. Chris Madonna and Juanita Kelleher and Scott Crimmin finally get this from Stacey Wondra.
Back or in front?
You got a piece of paper. I think I can understand it better if you draw out the
Okay.
Oh, okay. If you want to give it to him and you could trace it out, I'm going to run to the restroom.
This is a good point. If I draw it out pretty fast,
Yeah, he's trying to. All right, let me go this way because I have to go potty. Is there anybody here? Hi, can I run to the restroom? Oh, I feel so much better. Thank goodness.
So. Okay, so this is the backyard, and this is the patio coming out of your house. Yeah. This is where you, underneath the concrete? No, this is, out in the yard. Yeah, the yard. This is the concrete, right? Yeah. This piece right here. Okay? And you're sliding glass doors, whatever you want, right there. And I'm standing on the patio right here. Yeah. Okay, that's me. And then right here is the grass.
So that dog did a lot of holes and stuff, and nothing's been found. Holes. Oakley.
Figure it out. It's not working. See what? Sorry.
So Oakley did a lot of holes and stuff. Michael wasn't uncovered there. How's that?
And that's just where.
That's just weird. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he did that picture all backwards here. You can draw your own here. Just take that rubber band off. All right. Up there.
Okay, so we've got the house right here.
Uh-huh.
We've got, say this is the front. Here's the back area.
Yes.
We've got patio.
Okay.
The patio, and this is Oakley really liked to dig right here. You see that it serves a really great question. Are we talking about Brandon's house or Stacey's house? My house. Your house? Yeah. Okay, so he's in the backyard of your house. Yeah. Okay. So here is, this is where Oakley liked to dig.
Okay.
You notice there's a lot of folding in there.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael would be probably not in the middle either, but right around the area.
So you guys, can I draw for a second? Let's see if I can draw any better. Yeah, I don't. Even like my mom, she's a very good drawer. Okay, so if I remember your house right. So we have a street that comes off this way and kind of bends around. This is your driveway. Okay. Just, so we have a shed over here. So this is your house here. This is the shed, and then you have like a gate here that comes in here. And then you have 3 big trees over here, right in the middle. So where at? So this is the house. So this I left the yard small, sorry.
So he would be
right by the trees. Yeah, so those are the 3 trees.
So here, Juanita Kelleher draws out the trees in Stacey Wondra's backyard, 3 trees. Stacey says here, she says, okay, by the trees. So let's not forget that one of the cadaver dogs handlers that spoke at Stacey Wondra's preliminary hearing said that her dog hit by the trees. Now, another one of those cadaver dogs hit by the irrigation box that was under the kitchen window. Now, I'm purely going to speculate myself here. I don't do that often, but I am going to give out my own theory of why I think one of the cadaver dogs hit on that irrigation box next to the house. And I believe that Michael was in the basement, the crawl space of the Wondra's house. And that is why one of the cadaver dogs hits up close to the house. Now that, again, that's my own speculation and theory, but one of the cadaver dogs hit by those 3 trees. Now, remember, only 2 cadaver dogs talked at Stacey Wondra's preliminary hearing, but I have been told there were multiple cadaver dogs. We know of at least 5 cadaver dog handlers whose dogs all hid in that backyard. We know Michael was in that backyard. And cadaver dogs also hid on the Lexus, and cadaver dogs also hid at Brandon Shirtleff's mother's house. I just wanted to point out, while they're talking about these 3 trees, when Stacey Wondra says this is where he was, it was right by those trees, right where one of the cadaver dogs said, or one of the cadaver dog handlers said their cadaver dog hid in their backyard.
Yeah.
Okay, so where's he at?
So this is the patio, right?
Yeah. Okay. And so this is where you are telling us to search and we will find Michael Vaughan. How do you know he is here?
That's where Sarah's buried.
Okay, did you see Sarah buried in there?
That's where she said she buried.
Okay. Did you see anything that would make you believe that she's being truthful?
Shovel in the garage.
Okay. When was this?
The day after.
So I was muted, sorry you guys, but here he says that Sarah Wondra told him that's where she buried Michael, in the backyard. But then when he's FaceTiming with Chris Madonna, he says that he saw Sarah and Adrian bury Michael. So he is still, telling us lies, trying to deflect from actually saying anything that's going to get him in trouble. He doesn't want to say, I saw them bury Michael.
The day after. Okay. So we didn't see any dirt spots or anything. Why not?
It was after. Yeah, I know. That's
where he is.
What I can tell you.
Okay. And did you see anything that would indicate to you that she was being truthful besides the shovel in the garage? Anything in that spot?
Just a little bit of pressure on the shovel. The shovel, her dad usually keeps the tools pretty clean. Like a lot of stuff. You can walk on. Her dad was very picky on the things and tools.
Okay. How big of a hole did Sarah make to bury him?
I don't know that.
Okay.
I would assume they didn't have to bury the body.
Okay.
I was concerned that that's what it was not. No. Adrian.
How did Michael die?
I think probably by suffocation.
Suffocation. And how did that happen?
I think they suffocated before.
Okay. So was he alive that night? When you guys got back from Kuna, where was he?
They had gone the next day to go get him.
Okay, so he was in Kuna that night. And then what happened?
I don't know 1,000% positive, but I'm pretty sure they killed him.
Did he just say they stayed with him? Sorry, guys, I gotta rewind. We know that Brandon Shirtleff went back that night to stay with Michael Vaughan. And I believe Stacey says they, so now I'm wondering if maybe Sarah and they did somebody else. I don't know. We never will know because Stacey Wondra is a liar. He's despicable to say the least. But I want to re-listen to this part right here.
Suffocation. And how did that happen? Okay. So was he alive that night? When you guys got back from Kuna, where was he?
They had gone the next day, but yeah.
Okay, so he was in Kuna that night. And then what happened?
I don't know 1,000% positive, but I'm pretty sure they killed him.
Okay, he doesn't say they stayed the night. He says that they went back the next day. My bad. All right, that's why I wanted to re-listen.
Okay. And did Sarah say anything like that that would make you believe that?
No, she said they were there. Stop.
Okay. What was he buried in?
We had buried things. Sarah, that's one thing Sarah was keen on. She was, especially after this happened, she was like, oh, we're garbage bags.
Okay. Sorry, my brain just went dead. I forgot what I was going to ask altogether. What time did you get back the next day? No, when you came home. When did you come home?
When I came home.
Mm-hmm. You said that you left that day, or were you home all day?
No, I was home. I went with him that night. I didn't go with him that next day. It was her, Adrian, and Brandon said they were going to report him.
Okay, and the day after that, like after Michael was abducted and all that?
I think I had done a couple of taxi rides that I don't get home down where they were.
Okay. Why did they end up killing Michael versus whatever else? Was it an accident? Was it on purpose? What was it?
Sarah said it was an accident.
Okay. What did she say?
That wasn't what they were trying to do. They were trying to be able to solve it.
Okay.
And it was already too late.
Okay.
Why was it too late? Because he had already been accidentally killed.
And how did he accidentally die? Suffocation.
So he's saying that Michael was supposed to be sold, but it was too late. And then another person says, why was it too late? And I think, because the captions aren't showing here, I think he says it's because Michael died before they could. So I'm, again, going to rewind this part. Let me know what you guys are hearing.
Okay. Why did they end up killing Michael versus whatever else? Was it an accident? Was it on purpose? What was it?
Sarah said it was an accident.
Okay. What did she say?
That wasn't what they were trying to do. They were trying to be able to solve it.
Okay.
And it was already too late.
Okay.
Why was it too late?
They were trying to sell him, but it was too late. That's what was just said.
I think I had done a couple of taxi rides that I don't get home down where they were.
Okay. Okay. Why did they end up killing Michael versus whatever else? Was it an accident? Was it on purpose? What was it?
Sarah said it was an accident.
Okay. What did
That
she say?
wasn't what they were trying to do. They were trying.
That wasn't what they were trying to do, he says. They were trying to be able to sell him.
And it was already too late.
Okay.
And it was already too late. Why was it too late?
Because he had already been accidentally killed.
And how did he accidentally die?
Because he was killed, I think is what it says. Caption isn't picking it up, but it sounds like he is saying that he was killed. He was saying accidentally is what Sarah Wondra told him. So again, here he's saying that this is the reason why Michael Vaughan was not sold. But that was the plan.
Okay, where was he at when he suffocated?
I think it might just.
Okay, so was he alive when you guys left there?
Yeah.
And then when they got back the next day, was he alive?
I don't know that. I just know that Sarah said that they accidentally killed him.
Okay. Think really, really hard. When they got Michael, and Michael came to your guys' house, what did he have with him?
Just a little monkey stuff.
Okay. He didn't have anything else, because I'm still missing one item that I need to verify that you're telling me the truth.
I don't recall anything else. I just wanted you guys stuff down.
Okay.
That's all I know.
Okay.
If I thought there was another toy or even more something, I would talk.
Okay. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that's been running through your mind?
No, I'm just happy to be able to help you.
Okay. How do you know if he's still there?
I've been in jail the last 6 months, so I couldn't tell you. That's the last place I know what he was.
Okay. So when was the first time that you heard that he had died?
The next day.
The next day. What was going on? Walk me through that the next day.
Sarah was just really angry. She was big. Accidentally killed my thing. I was just blown away about that. And I remember something. To tell me this is you really never fucking done this. This is not how that happened.
Is that when you called your mom? Michael, let me see, I was 27, 28, and get married. Yeah.
Why didn't you
call mom?
Why didn't you tell your mom what happened?
I'm scared.
Okay.
Because I knew at the commission called.
So apparently he is saying that he found out the day after Michael Vaughan was abducted that Michael Vaughan had passed away. He was suffocated accidentally is what he's saying. Sarah told him the next day. And one of the officers says, "Is that when you called your mom?" So obviously detectives know that Stacey Wondra called his mom at some point after Michael's abduction. And they make it sound like, you know, Stacey was very upset about this situation, not just here, but further on. You know, we've been able to put together that this phone call to Stacey's mom, he was very upset, but yet he still doesn't tell his mom what happened. So I kind of missed this little clip here and was told things later, but there was a phone call to Stacey's mom that he made after Michael's abduction, and he was quite upset when he called her.
The tricycle, what happened with it?
I don't know what happened to Sarah when it was there and what I went out. I'm still.
Okay. Where did it come from?
But he picked it up from, I think he was writing back when
Okay.
tricycle
And where was he riding the tricycle at?
on the street.
Okay. Why didn't they pick up another kid? Why him?
Was my best guess, to be honest with you, is he was the one who was the easiest one to grab.
Juanita Kelleher asks about the tricycle that we know plays a huge role in Michael's abduction. And he says that Michael was riding it on their street, which makes sense. That's where Dorothy Starkey says she saw Michael Vaughan riding the tricycle. That's where the scent dog picked up a trail on Michael Vaughan from the corner where Dorothy saw Michael on the tricycle. But he's also not being honest when asked, how did the tricycle get there? Sarah Wondra's mother found the tricycle. In the spring of 2021, the Wondra's home is owned by Kay Ramsey, Sarah Wondra's mother and father, and they shared the Wondra's garage. And the Ramseys like to collect things, and they would store items in the Wondra's garage. That wasn't something out of the blue. She made the decision once she found the tricycle in the neighborhood to store it in the Wondra's garage. And then Stacey's saying he doesn't know how it got there. He's just saying one day I saw it in the garage. But Stacey Wondra knows that tricycle had been sitting in the garage since the spring of 2021. I have personally heard recordings of Kay Ramsey, Sarah Wondra's mother, saying that she found that tricycle in the neighborhood while on a walk with Ed, her husband, and brought it back and put it into the garage. I have also heard of other conversations from Kay Ramsey where she changes that story completely and says she finds it in a bush. And that's exactly what's written in the probable cause affidavit, is that basically police aren't even believing Kay Ramsey and her stories because they have changed. She even says she ended up, after all the work, going down over the bluff to get this tricycle. She ends up leaving it at the bluff sign. But we know, because the other neighbor, oh my goodness, I'm forgetting his name right now, Jim, had found the tricycle, took it home, worked on it. The wheel didn't fit his wagon, so he's the one who put it at the bluff sign. So this whole thing with the tricycle, that he's just trying to deflect here because they had the tricycle at their home, and after Michael Vaughan was abducted, the tricycle is thrown over the bluff.
So you had the photo of the man walking. Do you know who that man was? Yeah, there was a photo that Russ showed you of a guy walking in the neighborhood, FBI agent that interviewed you in the polygraph or prior to. It does. And I dropped it and half of it fell out. Yeah. This is just one of many.
Was Russ the guy with the glasses and then the shorter guy with glasses, older man? Yeah.
So, do you know this car?
Sarah's mother's.
There's my car. Does anybody drive that car other than them?
No.
Nobody?
She let Sarah drive it.
Okay. Did Sarah drive it that day?
No. Ed was very particular on the budget driver.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna have to pull it up because I don't see it here. Sorry, Scott.
That's her mom.
Okay.
I can probably find out how it is when she lives in some mom's
Yeah, we have those. That one I'd question. That one I'd question if it was hers or somebody else's. I know the other car. Yeah.
I recommend
Okay. So with our stories and everything that's gone through tonight, and so, no, it's not. It's 4. Has anything changed in anything that you've told me? Okay, how about the trip to Ontario, them going to Ontario and all that?
I know that they were to Ontario, but it wasn't to transform my fault.
Okay. And anything that you say right now, up until, we're done here, if there's anything that we have to change that you've spoken about previously, that is okay. If right now is the time to change that. Okay, so even if you just outright lied about whatever in the world, right now is the time. If there's anything that needs to be changed, that will change it. So when Adrian came in, did you guys talk to Adrian about Michael prior to taking him?
No, there was really no discussion other than what Sarah and I talked about.
Okay, and what had they talked about?
Where they were going to take him and what to do with him, and that's when they had asked for him.
Okay, so that was already after they got him. And so was there ever a discussion or anything that would make you believe or help us to believe that it was planned that they were going to go and find Michael?
No.
Okay, so them taking Michael, why?
I have no idea. I think Sarah might have, was trying to appease me with the kid.
Okay. She was trying to appease you with the kid? What did she say?
She didn't say anything specific. I just think that she was trying to appease me.
Juanita Kelleher asked Stacey Wondra why. Why did Sarah take Michael? And I think that Brandy says it best when she says there is no answer to why. What reason could you possibly give as to why you would take a 5-year-old little boy? I know that Juanita Kelleher is just trying to get information from Stacey, but that's what I hear now when someone asks why. Why would they take a child? And we also know that according to Stacey Wondra, Adrian, Lucian, and Sarah came up with the plan to get a child and sell a child for all of them, all 4 of them, to get $10,000 a piece. And that would be a reason why to be sold. But then Stacey says here, Sarah wanted to appease him with a child. Just a moment ago, he was just talking about how Michael was supposed to be sold, but then he didn't get sold because he passed away before they could sell him. And now when Juanita Kelleher asks him why, he says because Sarah Wondra wanted to appease him with a child. And here's where we get into this blah, blah, blah stuff about how Sarah and Stacey wanted a child and that's why he ended up being taken, when we all know that isn't true. That just, it is not true. And you've heard Sarah say that she doesn't want a kid, or Stacey, I mean, say that he doesn't want a kid and everything else. And then don't forget Josh from the lab saying Stacey got his nuts crushed by a bull.
Okay. So when she's like, hey, look, I found us a kid, what was she meaning? What's your thought process of what she was thinking at that time?
That she was gonna,
You guys were going to keep him?
yeah. I wasn't okay with the situation in general.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of nice to know that she wanted a kid, and that's why she took him, is to appease you and say, hey, here's a kid, and now we have a kid. But I just want to make sure that I'm understanding that right. Okay. And when did it change from that thought process? So it ended up, things went bad, right? And so, but when she shows up at your house and she has a kid and she's like, look, honey, we have a kid now. When did that change? What was going on? That's a big jump. It's a really big jump.
Well, it's just like that. I mean, I wasn't even okay with the situation in general.
Okay.
Who would have recommended?
Okay. So walk me through it. When you came home from the taxi ride and stuff, walk me through what really happened.
Just like I told you, it was I got home and they said that they were gonna go do something real quick, and they came back, and Sarah had a kid in her. It wasn't definitely not what I was expecting her to have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I know she was pregnant and all, but it just, that whole night was fucked up.
Did she present you with that idea, or how did you come to that conclusion that that's what she was thinking?
Just the way she did it, because she knew that I wanted a kid, but that's not the way I wanted a kid.
Yeah, well, understandably. But how did she present it to you when she was still in that happy mindset that she brought you a kid and you guys gonna have a kid together?
It wasn't like she didn't directly say, I brought you a kid. It was, there's, look, a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, what the fuck? And I go, what the fuck is this? And we abducted her.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they're all hell just kind of broke loose in my life. Constantly thinking about why you're, why would you do that? What was the logic behind it?
Mm-hmm.
But assumption wise, that's why I think she did it,
Mm-hmm.
was to try to use me with a child.
Okay.
And she's got it completely fucked off, because that's not.
Mm-hmm. It was just kind of a bad mistake, really bad mistake.
Very bad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even okay with this.
Yeah. Okay. And then has anything else changed from the story that you've told us that took place, like the conversations about going in the truck or the car, anything like that? Okay. So walk me through it so I don't get it wrong. Okay. So you were there, Sarah comes in with Michael, and then what happened? You said that all hell broke loose. So explain that.
But just internally.
Oh, internally.
Internally, not physically, like help her with us. It was just mentally. Like, why the fuck did you do this?
Okay.
And you didn't money, and you're doing money. But deep down inside, I don't think that was her motive. I think her motive was, oh, look, we're a kid now.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I can't put that on my mom's grave because I don't know that's what she's thinking.
Okay.
But
Your Honor, this next clip's gonna be 10 minutes as well. I'm okay. Oh, is it okay with the court if we go just a few minutes?
Let's finish the video today.
Okay.
As much as we've been trying to get on the love triangle, just granted as it's turned out, I love it. Watch it.
Okay. So after that, what happened?
I got frustrated. I noticed he sat on the couch and was yelling for his mom. Mommy, and he was telling the child. And at that point, I remember the bedroom. And I heard it up.
Okay.
And from there on out, it was just and they had asked what they should, where they could take the kid, and I go, that's what they come.
Where were they standing when they decided to take them to the room? Okay. Where was everybody standing at?
They were all.
Yeah, but where was everybody standing
Adrian was standing by the green couch, and Sarah was by the couch. Was Michael, and Brandon was, I think he was by the island.
Okay. Okay. And what was Michael doing at this point?
He was laying on the board.
He was what?
He was just laying on the board.
Okay. And how was his body?
Please protect your mental health. And Stacey Wondra goes into details again about what happened to Michael Vaughan after he was abducted. I just want everybody to please protect yourself. You can always come back and watch it a different time. You can always, come back in 5-10 minutes. But please protect yourself. This information isn't easy to talk about for me. It isn't easy for Brandy, Michael's mom, to be here to listen to. It's not easy for anybody. We're talking about a 5-year-old little boy who was abducted by 4 monsters, brought into the Wondra'S home where he was duct taped and put into a duffel bag. So please protect yourself.
Position. Okay. Was he doing anything? Was his eyes open?
His eyes were open, but he was squirming. He couldn't talk or anything.
Okay. And what were some of the words that, I know you said we could take him to my mom's house. She's in Arizona. Was there any other words being said? Was Adrian, Sarah, anybody saying anything else?
It was just, okay, that's a good idea. That's what they've done.
Okay. And how did the duffel bag come? Who thought of that? Okay. And what did he say?
Because they were trying to find a way to transport him, and Brandon was like, I have a duffel bag.
Okay. And then what happened when he said that?
They put some of the clothes on the bottom and
Whose clothes did they put on the bottom?
Brandon's clothes.
Okay. And then how did they?
So Brandon is standing in the kitchen by the kitchen island. You have Adrian and Sarah standing by the couch. He says Michael Vaughan's on the floor on his back. He has already been duct taped. And then Brandon Shirtliff says, because they're having this conversation of what they're going to do with Michael. And like Brandy said in chat, they were not expecting Michael to put up such a fight. They were not expecting Michael to scream and squirm and get as loud as he possibly could when he is screaming for his mama. And Brandon Shirtliff comes up with this idea, like, we can take him to Kuna, to my mom's house. She's not home. She's in Arizona. And they all agree, okay, that's the best thing for us to do. And Stacey's saying Brandon Shirtliff's clothes were then put in the bottom of the duffel bag. Now, I did not hear that part when I was at the preliminary hearing, which goes right back to this epiphany that I had of all these times we've heard Stacey Wondra talk about how Brandon washed his clothes in Kuna when he went there. Well, if you put Michael on top of your clothes and your duffel bag, Brandon, you're going to wash those clothes. You are going to wash those clothes in Kuna. You do not want any DNA evidence on those clothes. Please, again, protect your mental health. There's still more to come here.
Michael, if you were to use this, how did they put him in the back? Were they gentle?
They weren't rough.
So let's see if I can use this. Yeah. Here, we'll just take that box out. So if this was a duffel bag, let me put this over the floor. How did they put Michael in the duffel bag? With one hand against his head? Okay. And who was holding him?
Sarah.
Sarah was doing this? And how did she actually place him into it? Like head first, feet first, where was his head?
Yes, she went like this.
And he just went in, he didn't fight or anything?
No, he went over
Did anybody have to help her, like open the side or anything like that?
Yeah, he drained it over the side. So that had the open area to hold it the sides and open.
Okay, so after he's in it, then what happens? Do they have?
This is so difficult to hear. Like, and to watch Stacey Wondra sit and talk about how Michael Vaughan is placed in this duffel bag. He's showing no emotion whatsoever. And at one point almost laughs with Juanita. And we're talking about putting a 5-year-old little boy in a duffel bag. And he's acting like it's not a big deal, as he describes Michael moving and squirming when Juanita asks him. So he just goes right into the duffel bag. He's like, yeah. And she says he wasn't fighting or anything. And he goes, well, yeah, he's squirming. He's, and like Brandy said, he was putting up a fight. Why wouldn't he put up a fight? And then we have people that have, how could you fit a 5-year-old into a duffel bag? Stacey Wondra had spoke at another time about how they kind of bend his knees up, and I'm not going to go into like a lot of detail, but you can fit a 5-year-old little boy in a big enough duffel bag. I am just sickened by the fact, though, that Stacey Wondra can talk about details without any emotion. We're talking true psychopath here. True psychopath.
Anything else on top of him? Okay, where did they get those? Where did they get those from?
The bag, some of the clothes out.
Okay, so he actually opened the bag?
Yeah, some of the clothes out.
Did you see him take the clothes out?
And Brandon Shirtliff has this duffel bag. He's taking his clothes out of the duffel bag, keeping some in the bottom to put Michael on top of them, and then taking the rest of his clothes and covering Michael. And we know that Brandon Shirtliff has talked about how he kept his clothes when he was staying at the Wondra'S house in a duffel bag. He'd kept other little bags to keep like his toiletries and stuff in. And he wants us to believe that he didn't wash his clothes when he got to Kuna. Like, Brandon, are you serious right now? You really want us to believe that you didn't wash any clothes? Do you wear those clothes still? Like, do you think about Michael when you wear those clothes? Did you think about Michael when you wore those clothes prior? Do you still have them? Like, you're sick. You are disgusting. You wash the clothes, obviously, to get Michael's DNA, but you wash those clothes because you're going to keep wearing them? Are you? Wow. Because now I have it in my head that that's what Brandon Shirtliff did, is wash these clothes, not only to get the DNA off, because this was his bag of clothes. These were the only clothes he had with him.
Okay.
That part I did see.
Okay, well, describe that for me, because we didn't go through that.
It was, Brandon had opened the duffel bag after it was decided they were gonna use the duffel bag. So it was still nice. There was a girl on the floor, there was still clothes up in the bag. And Sarah grabbed Michael and picked him up and set him on his.
Okay. Did she have to try to make him fit, or did he, I mean, how was he fitting in the bag?
He's laying in bed, you know,
Yeah.
fit in the bag.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was a little longer than the bag.
Okay. And how did she get him to fit? Did she have to move him around or anything? Okay. Can you explain it without me having to step you through step by step?
Here's the head, to put Michael in the bag. And obviously he's gonna be longer, doing kind of treatments.
Yeah, or just push down this way and act like those are his legs.
Yeah, so here's his head, here's his legs. Obviously, he didn't fit early, so he didn't push him. So his legs were.
Okay. Okay. They were bent up?
In the fetal position?
Yeah.
And then what happened?
They had put clothes on top of him and zipped the bag.
Did he cover his head or anything?
I think the clothes were spread out.
Okay. And what did he have on him at this time?
Just his clothes. This is t-shirt, his shorts on, his shoes are really down.
Okay. And you talked about tape before. Did he have that on him too?
Yeah.
Okay, where were those at?
Tape was on his mouth and his feet and his arms.
Okay. And then after they zipped the bag, where was everybody standing at this time?
They were all under where the tape on the
Okay. And where was Brandon standing? Where was he at?
It was by the island.
He was still by the island. And where was Sarah?
She was by the, I think she was standing between the brown house and the island.
Okay. And where was the duffel bag at this time? Where at?
We're really putting in the bag. Where the same spot is.
Okay, anybody standing by him or anybody kneeling by him?
Usually he was standing like a part of the back of the corner.
Where were you at?
I was sitting outside the bedroom watching this, but
Okay.
yeah, I saw him putting in the bag.
Okay. So how did you guys decide to move him in the duffel bag outside?
Brandon had carried clothes and they put his backpack in the back of the back seat of the truck and up in the elevator.
Okay.
I mean, all I could see is the dump bag coming down. Yeah.
And so everything that you told us about you getting in the truck first and stuff, that was truthful?
Yes.
Okay. And so nothing there has to change?
No.
Okay. Where was Adrian?
He's gonna go with us. He's staying home.
And why did he stay home? What did he say?
We just said he didn't want to go.
Okay. Okay. So what is now the conversation?
So now that, they have Michael in the duffel bag, it's been zipped. He's saying that he got into the truck, that Michael was put into the truck, saying that Adrian Lucien didn't go. And when he's asked why, he said because Adrian didn't want to go with them to Kuna. And I believe that is because Adrian Lucien just didn't know that Michael Vaughan was going to be put into a duffel bag, duct taped. If he was at some point here given insulin, maybe he just didn't want a whole part of even traveling to Kuna. Maybe he already thought, because it was over 100 degrees and he's covered up in clothing, that Michael's going to pass, and that wasn't his plan. But for whatever reason, Adrian Lucien does not go to Kuna. It was Sarah, Stacey, and Brandon Shurtleff.
Like I said, there was a lot of music, but like I said, I was trying to be conversing about this whole thing. Like I said, I wanted to be a part in the first place.
Were you guys worried about people looking for him, or police officers or anything like that?
I told Sarah, I said, I told her, you realize how powerful and that behind him was involved. And she goes, yeah. And when I asked her, I said, do you want to work? She goes, well, I am. And I go, well, I said, I don't know what you expected. And I told her, I said, I don't know what you expected out of this. I said, this is not what I expected. I would never would have ever imagined this.
Okay. And so as you guys were pulling out of the neighborhood, walk me through that, because I've had several different versions of that event.
Well, we pull out of the neighborhood, and gone down Redwing, and we come back out on the driveway, and went back and passed the mailboxes and go straight down Redwing, along the road. It's called Partridge. Detail. They went out of the subdivision, we ended up parking on the side of the street.
Okay. And what was going on at that time to make you make her stop?
Power steering was a big issue, but I know Brandon got out, and I heard it. But I got it wasn't the engine. Wasn't that loud, it's not. I'm not a huge fan of making cutting off exhaust. That's just not something 50 or 60,
So the reason why I brought that up was you set up in front of the right? This is the crew cab. Right. So there's a lot of distance there.
Yeah. No, but the power steering is on the driver's side, so I can hear.
Yeah, it must have been winding pretty good.
Yeah, I can hear him. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Almost kind of a dual screen.
A dual screen, yeah. Like can't say anything. You can hear him.
So did you see anybody?
Not at that time, no.
Okay.
It was when we got back, whole streets were flooded.
Yeah, but when you were leaving, any cars that you remember seeing? Anybody that you were worried about?
Just the people that were parked on the side. What is that street that crosses? Is it Arizona or which one?
There's Arizona and Washington.
Okay, so Arizona.
Was there any people there?
No, it was just vehicles that were parked.
Okay.
Like nothing, nobody really stood out.
Okay. So after you guys got in the truck, I'm sure that it was nervous. You guys were probably nervous getting out of the truck and having to do that with all that going on. So what was the conversation when you got back in?
It was just that, we just gotta go from here. We can't stop anymore.
Okay. And what was Brandon saying?
He was like, yeah, that's a very good idea.
So you were thinking that Brandon got out and checked on Michael?
Yeah.
What did Brandon say about Michael?
He just said that he was still alive.
Okay.
You mentioned that you thought you had to handle. So you shut off the motor and drive and you get gas and sales station.
Yeah, I thought here, Michael, and I, it wasn't, I thought we didn't have gas, but I thought about that last time. That wasn't, yeah, well, it wasn't bullshit, it wasn't like.
So what I explained to Stacey is right now is the time to make sure that if there's any corrections that we need. So no matter what he said in the past, if it was a lie, that's fine. We just need the truth right now.
This time is straight up, honest with God.
Yeah. So any other stops or anything else go on during the trip? I know you guys must have been talking, or any mention of Michael on the drive.
The only other stop that we made was to Brandon's house, and then when we had left his house after
Well, let's not skip too fast because I don't want to miss anything. You're right, I did say that. Anything else in the back of the truck at the time? Okay.
There was, I think there was a shovel, if I recall. And, I think there was duct tape.
When asked by Juanita Kelleher if there was anything in the truck on the way or anything else in the truck, he says a shovel. Why is there a shovel in the back of the GMC? He's saying that Michael didn't die until the next day. So why are they bringing a shovel? And before that, Juanita wants to know, were there any stops at all? And he basically says, no, they went straight from the house to Kuna. And then the only other stop was when the tow strap broke. And he doesn't mention a gas station here. And that would make sense that they didn't stop to get gas on the way to Kuna, because he's saying he heard Michael in the back. Brandon got out to check on him. And if you're hearing Michael's still alive at that time, why would you take the risk of going to a gas station and getting gas when you have a little boy in a duffel bag? But there's also been speculation. There's also been, talk about the fact that if he was given too much insulin, he could have passed before even leaving the Wondras. This is just sickening to even have to what if this whole situation, because we already know Michael's parents and family. What if everything? What if he was alive? What if he was already gone? What if he suffocated on the way there? What if he was kept outside alive all night long? What if he was outside? What if he, you know what I mean? So many questions running through the family's head, and to sit here and listen to all these different lies and all these other stories, how frustrating that is for them, how disturbing it is for them, how emotional it is for them. There's no word to describe how awful this all is to hear and question, and feeling like they've never been told the truth of what really happened. Because do you really believe that the Vaughan family has taken everything that Stacey has said word for word and believe him? He is a habitual liar. Any parent would want to know what happened to their child, even if the details were so very disturbing, would still want those details. So you don't have to ask yourself those questions anymore.
But that was the duffel bag, and that was in the back of the truck.
Okay. Why do you think there was duct tape and a shovel in the bed of the truck? Did you see this, or is this something that you learned later on?
It was something that I remember.
Okay.
I didn't see it.
We didn't see that.
But
Interviews or Sarah did Brandon bring that?
there were interviews.
So those were things that officers had questioned you about, and so now you're like, no, that could be real. So I need you to just tell me what you know, okay?
I don't know that there was a shovel with duct tape in the back. It's all from the question about.
Okay, that's perfect. So you telling me that makes me understand and know exactly what you mean. So I'm not misunderstanding anything. Okay. Do you remember anything else in the back of the truck from your knowledge?
Just, I know for a fact that I had a tow chain and I had a tow strap.
Okay. All right.
That's what I know.
Okay. So when you guys were pulling in the neighborhood, tell me, it had to have been scary because if he's making noise.
Yeah.
So tell me how that was.
When we were leaving or pulling in?
Pulling into a Kuna, into Brandon's mom's neighborhood.
It was really dark, and there wasn't anybody out of their houses on that block. And it was all the lights were off and stuff. They all had streetlights.
Okay.
So there wasn't, to my knowledge, there wasn't anybody out.
Did Michael finally quiet down?
Yeah.
Okay. Was he making any noise at that time?
No, not that I can hear.
Okay. Was there any movement in the bag?
I think there was a little bit of movement when I saw Brandon grab the bag out and start walking. But I don't hold me on that. It's not 100%.
Okay.
Stacey Wondra is saying when they get to Kuna, he isn't hearing Michael anymore. Trigger warning, everybody. We'll need to ask him if Michael is moving around. Stacey says that there was a little bit of movement seen when Brandon gets the duffel bag out of the back of the truck. Even though Brandon Shirtliff wants to try so very hard to say that he's had nothing to do with Michael Vaughan's abduction and murder, he is the one who gets the duffel bag out of the GMC truck, walks around the doorbell camera to the side of the garage, and puts Michael either outside or in his mom's home where cadaver dogs hit. There's no denying that. Brandon Shirtliff, you're a coward. You are a coward. You do not want your mom, your family to know what a monster you are. You want Stacey and Sarah to take the blame, for Adrian to take the blame, just like Adrian wants everybody else to take the blame. Stop playing games. You are disgusting. You put Michael Vaughan in your mother's home. You came up with the idea to take Michael to your mom's house. You came up with the idea to put a 5-year-old little boy in a duffel bag, Brandon. Your duffel bag that had your clothes in it. Clothes that you ended up washing at your mother's house. This is disgusting, Brandon. And you're a damn coward.
And so you said nobody else went in the house with Brandon. Are you sure with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Did Brandon give one more check with them before he left?
I don't think so.
So Brandon didn't want to even look?
No, he didn't even go back to the house. He came after he came out, put his backpack back in the truck. Yeah. Then we hooked up, I helped move his car out and hooked up his car to the first one.
So there's a little bit of a difference now, so I just want to make sure that we're 100%. So when Brandon came out, what did he come back out of the house with?
With double bag.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So when Brandon had to remove Michael out of the duffel bag, was Michael alive? Did Brandon talk about that?
Brandon told Sarah that he was still alive.
Okay.
He was still alive.
And it gets even more disturbing because he says that Brandon Shirtliff told Sarah that Michael was still alive. Stacey is saying that Michael was taken out of the duffel bag. this isn't information that most of us have heard. We have always heard that Michael stayed in the duffel bag, but he's saying that Brandon brings the duffel bag and his backpack back to the truck. Prior to this, though, Juanita Kelleher asks him if Brandon looks in the duffel bag to see if Michael's alive or not, to check on him, and he says no, Brandon didn't check on him. He comes back to the truck with his backpack. And then right after that, Juanita says, so he didn't check on Michael to see whether or not he was alive? He says no. And she goes, okay, there's a change of story here because he had said something else prior. You know, you said that he can't, well, there's a change of story. And so he says yes and talks about Brandon Shurtleff taking Michael out of the duffel bag. Well, what I'm thinking in my head, if I believe, which I do in my personal opinion, I believe that Brandon Shurtleff washed his clothes. So if Brandon Shurtleff washed his clothes in Kuna, wouldn't that mean he would have to take Michael out of the duffel bag to wash his clothes? He by all means would. Do I believe that Michael Vaughan was in the duffel bag and stayed in the duffel bag? Yes. So, although Stacey Wondra keeps, changing his story constantly, it is up to you to decide what you believe, because it's too hard to figure out the facts when Stacey Wondra has told so very many lies. Brandon Shurtleff, you know what happened. You know you took Michael out of the bed of that truck. What happened after that, Brandon? Did you have to take Michael out of the duffel bag to wash your clothes? I believe you washed your clothes. Was Michael still alive when you left him in the spare room? Or had Michael already passed and you kept him outside in the duffel bag and not in your mother's house, like the district attorney talked about during Stacey's preliminary hearing, which is during closing arguments?
What did he say was going on at that time? Where did he put him, and how was Michael?
He said that he just put him in it was the spare bedroom of the house.
Okay. Did he say that?
Yeah.
Okay. Remember what the words were that he said, because that helps me.
Sarah had asked me what Michael, and he said put him in the spare bedroom of the house.
Okay. Did he say on the bed, under the bed, in the closet? There was no specified. Oh.
It was just in
The spare bedroom.
Okay. Take off the floor there or somewhere in that spare bedroom.
He wasn't worried about the neighbors coming in or anybody visiting, or there was no worry about any of that. Okay. So, I'm sorry about that. You guys need to try that room too. You just bring this down like that. It's a survey if anybody would like to take it.
So we are to believe that Michael Vaughan was still alive, because that's what Stacey Wondra says. He comes back, that Brandon comes back with the duffel bag, with the backpack, tells Sarah that Michael's still alive, but he's going to leave Michael Vaughan in the spare bedroom alive, and they're all going to leave. You know, Brandon Shurtleff's mom had somebody that came over and checked on her house regularly while she was gone in Arizona on her vacation. We're really to believe that Michael Vaughan was alive in that house? I personally do not believe that Michael Vaughan was alive once they got to Kuna. That is my own personal opinion. And like I said, you'll have to come up with your own opinions on this because Stacey Wondra is a habitual liar. It was over 100 degrees outside. Michael was given insulin, duct taped, put into a duffel bag, and covered up with clothing. And duct tape was over his mouth. Could he have survived that? What, 45 minutes to an hour trip to Kuna? It's so very difficult to talk about because at this point, with my own personal feelings, I'm hoping that Michael passed long before even the trip to Kuna because I don't want to know that Michael Vaughan suffered. I don't want to feel like the family feels like Michael suffered because all of this information is pure torture. Torture for the family, torture for anyone who's close to Michael's family. This is so disturbing. And then we're supposed to believe that Michael Vaughan was left in a house all night long till they came back the next day to get Michael? Really? Who would leave an alive child in a spare bedroom all night long? That's one of the reasons why I do believe that Brandon went back to the house. Not that Michael Vaughan was alive, but that he went back to the house because he was paranoid and worried that somebody was going to find Michael Vaughan in the house. The family just needs some closure and some truth. Brandon Shirtliff, where is Michael? What happened in Kuna? Answer the damn questions. Stop deflecting away from it all. Go make a deal with law enforcement before Sarah Wondra is arrested. Tell law enforcement everything to give the family some peace, to give the family answers to their questions. Why do you want to keep torturing this family?
No, I'm not thinking it. So when you guys got back in the car, is there any changes that you want to make? Any conversations or anything before you guys left with the car tone?
It was pretty quiet back.
Were you guys making any phone calls or for anybody to give advice?
I know I had called Carson at midnight, but I was going to ask him to come bring his car. Let him know that it was something that I wasn't going to fix. And that's when Brandon somehow went to deal with Carson. Supposedly Brandon said Carson told Brandon that he would trade Brandon or Carson would be willing for Brandon's proceedings, but apparently it's Carson's supposed to be better, so Brandon still didn't come.
Anything else that you remember on that trip? Anything about Michael's clothing, anything that belonged to Michael? Nothing.
I recall that last event that happened that night was two things. Was the Sarah having utilized the restroom and administrator to wipe and the tow strap breaking. Other than that, it was just going into the neighborhood, seeing all those people.
I'd like to know the answer to that question too. How does Tina Marie sleep at night in that house knowing a 5-year-old little boy died in her house or had already passed and was stored at her house overnight? How does she sleep in that house? Everybody is bringing up such good points in chat. This is so heartbreaking. And yes, I saw somebody say, like, I don't even know what to say, Brandy. There's nothing we could ever say. All we can do is pray and lift them up and let them know that we're here for them, because there is nothing that we can say to the Vaughan family after knowing what has happened to Michael Joseph Vaughan, their son, their grandson, their brother, their nephew. Stacey Wondra finally gives some truth to what happened to Michael Vaughan, and it paints a very ugly, horrifying picture. And Stacey Wondra doesn't show any emotion, doesn't care at all. A pure, like Callie always says, a psychopath. This is the definition of a psychopath. Being able to do such horrific things and not have any emotion about it whatsoever.
Did that stress you out, having a post-op break with everything that just happened? And that must have been a pretty stressful event.
And let's not forget the phone conversation between Brandon Shurtleff and Stacey Wondra, where they decided to come up and create an alibi. You know, when was this phone call? Because the alibi had to have been created to go and get his car and tow it back, and it's a phone call. So when does the phone call come into play? This phone call that Stacey and Brandon have, that they have created this alibi, that the tow back from Kuna is the alibi. When was that phone call? Was Brandon making phone calls to Stacey as he's wandering around the neighborhood for a half an hour, right when or right before Michael Vaughan is abducted? Brandon had to be the only person that could come up and create such an alibi. He's already offered up his mom's house to put Michael in. He's the one who benefits from bringing his car back to Fruitland, because he's been trying to get Stacey to do it for months. He personally told me that. He had been trying to get Stacey to go pick up that car for a long time. You don't create alibis, Brandon, if you have nothing to hide.
Through all that. And when you guys come back in the neighborhood, how did it make you feel seeing all those people?
Shaking,
Okay.
very distraught, sad,
Okay.
very upset.
What were you guys saying?
I wasn't saying anything. I didn't say anything either today. It was just, they offered it, Sarah and Brandon offered to go out and help work on
Okay.
it.
So you guys said that when you came in, you guys spoke with somebody. Does that need to change, or is that truthful?
Spoke with somebody.
Yeah, when you guys came back in the neighborhood that night, when there was people out walking around.
Yeah, we did. We did. We had stopped and rolled, or we rolled the truck and just asked what was going on. So there's just parents of water.
How did?
And another question. When they come back into the neighborhood and you have these suspects talking about how they stopped to ask what happened, why did they stop and ask people what happened? They knew what happened. They knew why that neighborhood had gone crazy looking for Michael Vaughan. They abducted a child from that neighborhood. Why even bother to stop and ask what happened? So did they really stop and talk to anybody, or are they just saying they stopped and talked to somebody? Or has a witness came forward and said that they spoke to them as they came into the neighborhood? Who knows? Because we're not privy to all of the information, right? So why stop and ask what happened when you know what happened? Is that even true?
That makes you feel. Okay. Were you worried that maybe somebody could have saw something or knew something? Okay. What were your thoughts?
Please, if you have received a missing PNW Crimes Revisited membership, please thank Chuck Anderson's granddaughter. Thank you so much for becoming a PMW Whisperer, and thank you so much for gifting a membership. If I wasn't sharing my screen, we would be doing a little dance. So there's your dance. Thank you so much for being a wonderful part of Missing PNW.
Anybody else that would have been worried, you know, like, who knows, you know, but I literally just abducted a little boy and you know, if that was my kid, I would be heartbroken, heart-wrenched.
It must have been really tough for you guys. When you guys got to the house, what was the decision about them? Because it sounds like there were separate ways, so how did that work out?
We called it, and they went, Brandon and Sarah went out to go look for the little boy, and I went to bed. The whole day was just chaotic.
And where did Sarah and Brandon go?
They said that they just went out to go look for them.
Okay. And did they talk about going down 9th Street?
Sarah said that she had driven down 9th Street and saw that Brandon was his mom's name was just like that was here in the trees. But she didn't know that's who it was. She assumed that it was his mom.
Did you guys know Brandon then before this? Did you know anybody that knew that family? Okay. And did you guys?
And here you have Stacey Wondra saying he didn't know Tyler and Brandy. He didn't know the family. Michael wasn't chosen like that. Michael was wandering the neighborhood, and at that time, monsters were there and took him. Plain and simple. It doesn't get any more simple. And it's very unfortunate. Very unfortunate.
You guys talk with anybody in that family? No. Okay. So did you guys download any applications or anything to monitor like police chatter or anything like that?
I always have had it. I always been one that I've always gotten. I've always just downloaded a police scanner. Even before this all went down, I always just like to. Some would say it's like meditation. I like listening to the police scanner. Helps me with some, the radio waves and stuff like that. It really helps me relax. So there's a lot of times that
that's understandable. I do the same thing. I like to hear it. What was the police chatter that night?
there was just, I don't know that I listened to that much. So I just sleep. I think I turned on the radio to the nearest, the nearest sheriff's office, the county sheriff, fire, and whatever it is. And I heard a little bit of talk about the search for the little boy, and I still found it. That's
okay.
I didn't listen to it, but he said a whole lot. It helps me fall asleep.
Okay. The next day.
And then, was it They pulled over to the side of the road because they wanted for information. They were fishing for information, trying to find out exactly, what was going on in the neighborhood. Brandon and Sarah leave the house after they get back from Kuna to go out and search the neighborhood, they said. But then Sarah and Brandon drive by the Vaughn's house and sees Brandy crying. Like getting off on seeing the mother of a missing boy, Michael, missing. Who does that? Who does that? And then not only that, you get a flyer and then you put that flyer up on your refrigerator in your kitchen where everybody in the house can see this picture. Remind all of them that Michael Vaughan not only was abducted by them, but was also murdered, and yet they're still able to face this picture kept on the refrigerator for weeks and weeks and weeks. And we know that why? Because of the TikTok that Sarah Wondra does weeks and weeks, if not a couple months later, and it's still on the refrigerator. Stacey Wondra changes his profile picture to Michael Vaughan. It's like they all have their little trophies or something. This is behavior of some very sick individuals that got off on abducting and murdering a child. Brandon, what was your trophy? Your duffel bag? Your clothes? Adrian, what was your trophy? What do you have? This is vile. It doesn't get any more disgusting than that.
Hey, what all took place?
Sarah, Brandon, and Adrian said they were going to do it.
Okay.
And we ended up bringing Michael back, and Sarah came in and said that Michael was gone, like physically. And that she was distraught. She was like, it was an accident. The accident killed him. And wanted suggestions of where to bury him, and I said, I don't have the suggestions. I don't know what to tell you, so they won't bury him back here.
Okay, where was Michael at when you guys were discussing this?
In the duffel bag.
Okay, and where was the duffel bag?
If I recall, it was in the room.
Okay.
Michael went in? Yeah.
So
Yeah, put him back in.
when they went to get Michael.
And now he's telling them that Adrian, Sarah, and Brandon went to Kuna, got Michael the next day, brought him back, and he's saying that Michael is in a duffel bag. I think he may have said they put him back in the duffel bag. So I'm going to rewind just a tad bit right here, because did they put them back in the duffel bag? Did he get busted in a lie and then just have to say they put him back in the duffel bag? What's this about?
And she was distraught. She was like, it was an accident. The accident killed him. And wanted suggestions of where to bury him. And I said, I don't have the suggestions. I don't.
He's saying that Sarah Wondra is distraught, telling him that Michael was accidentally killed, and then starts talking about needing to bury him. And Stacey saying he doesn't have any suggestions.
I want to tell you is that they won't bury him back here.
Okay, where was Michael at when you guys were discussing this?
And then Juanita says, where was Michael at when you guys were discussing this? And I think this is where he talks about the duffel bag again. So let's take a close listen. Tell me what you guys hear.
Okay, and Where was the duffel bag?
If I recall, it was sitting in the room.
Okay.
Michael hit it?
Yeah,
So
yeah, put him back in.
So he says Michael was in the duffel bag, and then there's more conversation, and one of the other officers or detectives say with Michael in it, and he says, yeah, they put him back. So I don't know if he just got busted in a lie because he says that Michael's still in this duffel bag, because remember he had said Brandon Shirtliff took Michael out of the duffel bag in Kuna. So did he just get busted, or did Brandon take Michael out of the duffel bag at his mom's house, bring back this duffel bag, and then when they go back to get Michael and bring him back, they put him back into the duffel bag, which to me just doesn't even make sense at all. Trigger warning, everybody. This is such disturbing information tonight.
when they went to get Michael from Kuna, which vehicle did they take?
I don't recall.
Don't know. Okay. Well, that's true. That's right. When they came back, who brought Michael into the house? Adrian did. Okay.
And when they come back with Michael from Kuna, he's saying Adrian brought him back into the house. So Adrian chooses not to go to Kuna the night before and stays in Fruitland. But the next day, Adrian Lucien decides to go back to Kuna? Does that even make sense? Why would Adrian Lucien go back or go to Kuna the next day? I don't know if I believe this. Again, you have to decide what you believe here, because Stacey Wondra is a liar. And he's saying Adrian brought him in. You know, and I think that in some ways, Adrian does get blamed for a lot of things, because Stacey is afraid to blame Sarah or blame Brandon for things, because they can both flip on Stacey for information that they have, for truths that they have, that they could add to or discredit Stacey and his lies. And he doesn't recall what car they drove the next day?
And tell me what was going on right when they walked back in the room.
They were just all like kind of quiet at first when we came in. I asked Sarah on she was asking me to go money.
Did you guys know his name at that time? What did you call him?
Just the child. I didn't know what else to call him.
Okay. So at that point, what did you guys do?
Sarah had gone out and Adrian had been very.
What time was this?
Probably early afternoon.
Yeah. Okay. Was it light out?
Yeah.
Okay. Nobody saw this?
The only person that lives across behind us is the only he doesn't go out of his house hardly at all.
Okay.
So it's possible he does see something. I don't know. I wasn't back watching the whole thing.
Okay.
I just saw where they were trying to bury him.
Okay. And this took place the day after? It did not take place that night?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're supposed to believe that they came back from Kuna and it's early afternoon and they bury Michael Vaughan in their backyard in the early afternoon. And Juanita says, you know, it wasn't dark, and he says no. So you also have the fact that Brandon Shirtliff told Juanita Kelleher that he saw Stacey and Sarah put the duffel bag in the basement / crawl space. And I personally believe that. And I don't believe that they buried Michael in the Wondra's backyard the very next day. There's helicopters flying around looking for Michael. You're not digging a hole and putting a 5-year-old child, Michael Joseph Vaughan, that is in a duffel bag and burying him in your backyard while there's helicopters flying around and people looking for Michael. The story at this point, I mean, we already know they're all idiots and stupid, but they're smart enough to know, hey, we got helicopters flying around. Y'all shouldn't be out here burying a child, right? I believe that Michael Vaughan stayed in the basement. And like I said, this is my own personal opinion, my own theory, that he was kept in the basement in that duffel bag until another time when they buried him in the backyard, when everything in the neighborhood calmed down. Because there's no way in hell they buried him in the middle of the day after Michael Vaughan was abducted. I just don't see that happening. I just don't believe this part.
So after you guys buried him, then what happened? What happened that night?
I told my mom it was just in tears and she was just not on. Told her this little boy was missing and was just really upset about it and crying, but I didn't tell her too.
Okay.
And Stacey says that later on that night he calls his mom. He's crying. He's upset. He's telling his mom that a boy from their neighborhood came up missing. You know, he doesn't tell his mom his involvement or anything, but he's clearly upset. And law enforcement knows about this phone call, not only because they've talked to Stacey, well, they have talked to Stacey's mom. They actually had Stacey's mom talk to Stacey right before this, right after this. We'll be even going over that phone call because that is part of the preliminary hearing. But he calls his mom the next day, crying, upset, telling her the little boy came up missing in the neighborhood.
And then what were Sarah and Brandon and Adrian doing?
I honestly don't recall. They weren't, I think that they were really quiet. Like they were just more struck that this little boy died.
Okay.
There wasn't a whole lot of communication. I especially was at one of the few that wasn't one. I didn't want to talk because I just was upset with the whole thing.
Okay. So did you guys even discuss at that time on what you're going to do about law enforcement?
No.
No? Okay. What were you guys discussing at that time?
I just got I told Sarah, I said, you realize that everyone's going to be calling the right question. She said that I told her that we were going to be all around our house and we were going to go and that's the way.
Okay. So how did you guys feel when officers came to your home?
Scared.
Okay. Did you watch what they were doing? What were they doing?
Yeah, search dogs. They brought search dogs and just a whole crew of people walking the streets, talking to people.
Okay. And how did you guys get through that? How did you guys get through that?
So Fruitland Police went, excuse me, to the Wondra's home August 1st, just a few days after Michael Vaughan's abduction. And you hear Stacey say they brought search dogs. So they brought search dogs, it sounds like. And I don't know why he would lie about that. I'm sure these detectives know that that could be true, right? I mean, can't we say that here? So he's saying search dogs came with them and he was scared when they came. You know, Because of Juanita Kelleher going over and looking at lots of footage in the neighborhood, she has already given testimony about all the footage that she's seen. She thought it was suspicious that Stacey Wondra pulls up to the splash pad, gets out, checks his door handle, and waves at children, okay? That's when she focuses on the Wondra's home. And now we're finding out there are search dogs that went. So search dogs are different from cadaver dogs. Where did they go in the house? We don't know. We don't know where they looked on the property or anything. So, and if Michael had been buried in the backyard, would the dogs have hit on Michael? Search dogs? More than likely. That's another reason why I don't believe that Michael had already been buried in the Wondra's backyard. Because although he was deceased and although they weren't cadaver dogs, Michael still had his own scent that I believe they would have picked up. But here he is saying search dogs, scent dogs went to the house.
Is that why Adrian's wife and clock is going around? Yeah, one's off the girls. Yeah. He wasn't concerned about the kid. No, I'm sure, yeah. I'm sure he was that too. I also know that his mention was he told us a few days or a couple days after staying with us that he had two warrants out for his meds, which makes sense.
So when the searchers were looking, did they look in the backyard?
Yeah, they had search dogs.
Okay. And they didn't find them? Why not? Did you guys think they were going to find them?
I told Sarah, there's a very good chance they're going to look at this whole one. I asked her no, but she had a response to that.
No, Brandy, I did not know that. Brandy is saying in chat, did you all know that they held garbage service at the time? It was supposed to be picked up Friday mornings. They went through over 300 garbage cans. So law enforcement held garbage service? That's crazy. Yeah, I did not know that. I am just looking through comments still. Okay. Fruitland Public City Works, Fruitland Police Department, Payette County Sheriff's Department, and FBI, they all had teams and neighborhoods going through every single garbage can by hand. Wow. Yeah, I did not know that. Thank you for the details, letting us know. That, yeah, I did not know that.
And then what happened the day after that?
I think Sarah, I think we'd gone to church. Because Sarah's like union at church. She'd asked me about it. But, that was, I think we'd gone on to eat after that. And I had done a couple taxi rides, but I ended up in home just.
Okay. Anything else going on that I should know about at that time? Okay, you can't think of one thing that was going on that could help us with this case at that time?
Yeah, that's not an issue.
Okay, how about phones and stuff like that?
I called Carson and I ordered and called him over and said, I was going to I called him. I said that I wanted to hang out with him for a little bit. I got this one I got something. I feel used to it. This is my very.
Did you have any done for Michael?
No.
only photograph I have of that is my grandpa. The memorial I have, she died in 2002.
Okay. So what was the reason why you would hang up a poster of a dead boy in your backyard on your refrigerator?
That was Sarah's doing. She wanted to use it as to try to credential. Yeah.
What evidence have we not discovered in this case that you've been worried about? Yes.
That's my concern too.
What evidence have we not discovered yet that you guys are worried about it? And when he says the little boy, he laughs. Watch his face. I'm going to rewind just a little bit. Watch his face here. This is pure evil at its best right here.
She wanted to use it as to try to credential. Yeah.
What evidence have we not discovered in this case that you've been worried about? Yes.
It's like he gets excitement here. It's like he starts showing a little bit of excitement here. The way he says it, the little boy. He is smiling when he says that the one piece of evidence that they haven't been able to find is Michael. Say his name. It is Michael. It's not little boy. He smiles.
Concern too. I just found the duct tape. You guys said you found the tricycle. So that's in, I didn't even know where that was there. So I'm glad you guys were able to find it. The duct tape actually.
Where's the roll of that?
Last I saw it was on the garage. That was over months ago.
Where's the duffel bag? Where's the duffel bag?
That I don't know. The answer to it isn't there. I don't know. I thought it was trash bags that or trash bags.
Did they wrap the those back?
No, I think they're just because he was already in the yeah, he's already ducted. So they just put in the trash bag, hiding there.
This is where I wish the audio was clearer, because he's being asked about where this duffel bag is, and I can't make sense of what he's saying because of the audio here. Is he saying that the garbage bag, that the duffel bag was put into the garbage bag, or is he saying that Michael was duct taped and Michael was put into a garbage bag and then buried? I'm going to rewind a little bit more. I just, the audio. Let me just rewind a tiny bit more. He's saying, I don't even know where that is. Okay, let's go from here.
Yes.
That's my concern too. I just found the duct tape. You guys said you found the tricycle. So that's in, I didn't even know where that was there. So I'm glad you guys were able to find it. The duct tape actually.
Where's the roll of them?
Last I saw it was on the garage.
Okay.
That was over months ago.
Where's the duffel bag? Where's the duffel bag?
That I know.
Where's the duffel bag? And I think he says, I don't know. Let's just take a listen. Let me know what you guys hear.
The answer wasn't there. I don't know. I thought it was trash bag.
One of the detectives says, was he buried in it? And he says, I thought it was a trash bag.
No, I think they're just ended because he was already in the yeah, he's already abducted. So they just put him in the trash bin, hiding, buried.
And then it says from, so it's like they put him from the duffel bag to the trash bag. I think, do not quote me on that 100%, but I think that's what I'm hearing. I'm going to take a look in chat and see what you guys have to say here. Olive Eve, thank you so much for coming in. Criminal Meds in the house. Thank you guys all for coming. He's lying. He said trash bin. Pretty sure he said trash bag. Because he has said trash bag so many other times. I can't understand what he fully has said. I don't know. I thought it was a trash bag. Brandon asked, did you find the duffel bag? Rowan, thank you for that. Yes, because Brandon does ask if he had found the duffel bag. But then you have Stacey here saying this. Yes, that's what I sounded like, Sam, from Mama B. I also have thought that Criminal Mid, like they may have put the trash bag around the duffel bag to get rid of the smell, you know, and if they did keep them in the house, the crawl space basement area, like I believe that they did, then, you know, you would have to get rid of that smell. Trigger warning, you guys. I mean, it's so very hard. I know Brandy listens, so it's sometimes it gets very difficult to talk about. And I want to protect her so much, and I know she knows the details, but it's very difficult. But yes, you know, they would have to do something to be able to get rid of that smell, especially if they put him down there. But it does sound like he is saying, I heard trash bag, but we don't know how all of our brains can differentiate things. Exactly. But it does sound like, I'm going to just back up one more time because we're almost done here. We only have like 5 more minutes. Sorry, Mama, but I'm just going to rewind one more time, see if we can't figure this out. He talks about the tricycle, the duct tape being other things of evidence, you know, and he's saying he doesn't even know where that is. So let's keep listening.
So I'm glad you guys were able to find it.
Where's the roll of them?
Last I saw it was on the garage. Okay. That was over months ago.
Where's the duffel bag? Where's the duffel bag?
That I don't know. The answer isn't there. I don't know. I thought it was trash bags or trash bags. No, I think they're just ended because he was already in the yeah, he's already abducted. So they just put him in the trash bin, hiding, buried.
Okay. So if I go to your house and Michael's not there, do you have an agreement that we don't have anymore?
Yeah.
So I know for sure I'm hearing Juanita says, where's the duffel bag? He says, I don't know. One of the other detectives says, was he buried in it? And he says, I think he was buried in a garbage bag. But I can't figure out if he's saying, because another, like the detective is saying, was he wrapped up in duct tape in the bag? Because one of the detectives says something about him being duct taped in a bag. He was like, well, he was already duct taped. So not sure exactly if the duffel bag was in the garbage bag or if Michael was moved again from the duffel bag. But we do have Brandon Shurtleff asking Juanita Kelleher if they found the duffel bag. So there's that. Just going to have to come to our own conclusions here.
Okay, so you are 110% sure he is there in the yard. You have no worries that we're not going to find him. Thank you. Come on. Thank you. So you just did takes tremendous strength. Okay. Will you help us in this case? No matter what we ask.
Yeah. No. Anything else?
This last story. Bullshit.
How can I help you?
Tell us what you need.
The woman on suicide watch last night. They told me that there was going to be a sergeant here today. They were giving him up in prison.
Well, they're real concerned. Okay.
They're wanting to let me use the one I can't, all I can't videos, man. And I've asked them, like, to get a hold of the lieutenant or something.
You want to try to call your mom?
I just want to go back myself. I want to answer myself.
So I'll make you this deal, okay? We'll get through this, okay? Do what they ask them, because we have your best interest at heart. We do not want anything to happen, okay? I will stay beside you and try to help in any way I can, okay? But I need you to not hurt yourself, and I need you to help me finish this case. You.
So you can try to get a hold of the lieutenant and see, talk to him, see if we can try to figure out.
I know.
No, I know, but
He's not even.
what about the surgeon?
You know, they have certain policies that they have, and that, you know, I don't want to ask them to stretch that, you know, but we will talk to them and tell them, you know, your concerns and what you want to do. All right. But that's going to be, think of it as, well, it's just a liability. They're trying to protect you. Yeah.
And we can get through this. This is only a couple days. That's all it is. It's just a couple days. And you need time to mentally process everything and make sure that you're happy and that you're not going to hurt yourself, because I don't do that. That's not going to help anybody or anything. You want to help Michael's family, and I need your help. Okay? And so I don't know what happened last night or why they did that, but I know they did it for a reason. Did they? Were they being mean or doing it for anything other than your health? Okay. Yes, definitely.
So, Stace, just number one thing is your honesty. Okay. I want to reiterate again, this is crucial. Now, when you told me to prove, you will all come back all the way if it's not true. Okay? Because we're going to make some decisions based on what you just said. And then we'll put a lot of resources. We're going to be waking people up, bringing them out. There's going to be a lot of problems coming out of the woodwork.
And here you have Chris Madonna, who is letting Stacey know we are going to be waking people up. There are a lot of things fixing to happen because they're going to go over to the Wondra's house and they're going to go look for Michael, letting Stacey Wondra know that he is going to get in trouble if what he has said isn't true. And Stacey is shaking his head yes. He understands what Chris is saying to him. Chris is making sure that, you know, Stacey isn't lying about it. And we know they did not find Michael in that backyard. If Stacey Wondra knew where Michael was right now, he would give it up so he had a deal. And I have always gone back and forth on whether or not I believe he knows. But if he knows, he will tell, or he doesn't know. He just doesn't know where Michael is. Because don't you guys think he would make another deal with law enforcement and tell them where Michael really is if he knew? That is a logical thing for me because Stacey Wondra wanted a speedy trial. He's going to get it. He doesn't want to be sitting in prison. He still believes he's going to get off, you guys. He still believes that he is going to be let free because he swears he did nothing. And Chris Madonna's letting him know there's going to be a lot of problems if none of this is true.
We have to be 1,000,000% that we will find Michael Vaughan in the backyard. Right? All right. Now, we can explain our hesitation, right, because of some early items, okay? But if you can reassure us, okay, 1,000,000,000% that he is there, why would the dogs have not found him last time we saw? Did Sarah say anything after the dogs went to the back? No. She was concerned. So, any questions from you? You feel it's important or anything you feel you'd like to add?
I'd like to see if we can talk to the federal prosecuting attorney and see if there's a way they would agree to let me out for a little bit so I can go work.
We can't do any of that. We will leave that to, we will talk to our prosecutor and our prosecutor will do whatever they do.
And it's all based on obviously feelings that so
what's really important is that you're not bullshitting with Michael. You give us Michael's body, and that's going to help you tremendously. I really believe that.
Let's see if they have a phone that they can bring for you. I don't know if they do that.
Is that what you had on the phone when you said I want to testify against you?
Yeah. Step for a second. Where did they go? Here, can I see that for a second? I'm gonna run this in here for a second. How do you get out, Scott? Must go here?
I think that's a good place. That concludes that
That
day
video?
of interrogation.
All right, so before we break for the day, I want to take a recess and meet with counsel. He's be right back here in his office.
And we made it to the end of the long 3-hour video. I believe that there is a little over an hour, hour and a half left of more video, I believe, with Stacey Wondra. I need to check. And then Juanita Kelleher's testimony to come, because remember, before all of this started, Juanita Kelleher got up on the stand and they spoke to her briefly, and then they started the videos of Stacey Wondra. So when we start hopping back into the rest of this preliminary hearing, we're going to hear the rest of Juanita Kelleher's testimony, which is huge. And yeah, you basically have Stacey Wondra saying that he wants to talk to a federal prosecutor about getting a deal. They're letting him know we can tell the prosecutor here, you know, in Idaho, basically, and they can work from there. It's the one and only time that he ever says anything about an attorney or wanting to speak to one. And it was basically because he's, you know, telling them where Michael is. And he's even told by one of the detectives that, you know, you finding Michael helps you. And Chris Madonna says, we need to know 1,000,000% that we're going to find Michael Vaughan in that backyard. And he's shaking his head yes. He is saying that Michael Vaughan is going to be there. And at no time during this interrogation is Stacey Wondra bullied, yelled at, screamed at, hurt in any way, shape, or form. He wasn't crying any of the times that he was crying because they were yelling at him, like he claimed when he was up on another creator's panel. He cries after giving out information that he knows he's basically going to get in trouble for. He is giving out information, and now he's scared that something is going to happen to him, and he sheds little tears. But I don't even see the tears. And how upset is he when he can sit there and talk about Michael and have a smile on his face, a very disturbing smile on his face, when law enforcement asks him whether or not there's any evidence that they have not found, that he is scared that they will find. And it was very, very creepy to hear him say the things that he said, and with a smile on his face. It was almost like he was reliving that moment or something. Just looking into chat real quick. I want to see if there's anything I'm missing. Love, Mama Love is in the house. Thank you so much for coming. What gets me when someone tells everything what happened, yet turns around Clean, not guilty, please. Truth is truth. Stacey is a disgrace. And I totally believe, Brandy says, I believe we're all going to be living in that courtroom for that month, right? 20,000 pages of discovery. Brandon Shurtleff, Adrian Lucien, and the discovery grows every day, I promise. There's still lots of tips coming in. This is still an ongoing investigation. Do they know where Adrian Lucien is? Yes, they know where Adrian is. We're not privileged to have any of that information, but I guarantee you they know where Adrian Lucien is. He's constantly on social media, and they have ways of tracking down phone signals and whatnot. So I'm sure they know where Adrian Lucien is, where Brandon is. I'm sure that they keep a very close eye on them. I hope that they're recording the hearing, because I don't know if I can go to Idaho for a month. Kelly says he switched it up pretty quickly after his mom said his dad wasn't going to help him. Exactly. And when he talks to his mom, he seems like he's upset and everything else, but he seems to get more upset when he finds out from his mom that his dad's not going to give him any money or put anything on his books or help him at all. There's always something that Stacey wants. And the only reason that he told law enforcement what he told them was because he wanted to make a deal. He doesn't want to spend the rest of his life in prison. And that's why he did the things that he did. Smash that like button. Get those out there. It really does help the algorithm. Yes, the IP address. Thank you so much for that, Allie and the Tinks, because I was having a brain fart. FYI, Stacey Wondra had turned on the tears and the inferior childlike voice with his adopted mom during the video call. Just saying. Just like he gives that same childlike voice right towards the end after he's told them that Michael's in the yard and stuff, and he's starting to cry and wanting to talk to his mom. He gives this little, psychopaths can make themselves cry or try to seem like they're upset about things. Just like they can start believing their own lies to the point where possibly passing a polygraph test. Thank you, Connie, for sharing. Sharing is something that you can do. Michael's face needs to be shared. Michael's story needs to be shared. The suspects in this case need to be shared. It's so very important to get Michael's story out. He was abducted July 27th of 2021 in Fruitland, Idaho. 4 monsters, 4 suspects, all named by Fruitland Police: Stacey Wondra, Sarah Wondra, Adrian Lucien, and Brandon Shurtleff. As we go through all of this footage, we're finding out so much more information about Brandon and Adrian's involvement in Michael's abduction and murder, per Stacey Wondra's words. And if Adrian, you don't agree with what Stacey's saying, or Brandon, you don't agree with Stacey's saying, and you don't like being thrown under the bus, then it's time to get your ass down to Fruitland. Police department, get a lawyer, do what you gotta do, but you're getting thrown under the bus and you're being blamed here. What are you guys gonna do if Stacey Wondra decides he wants to testify in court against y'all? I mean, it is possible that maybe he could make another deal, right? Maybe he could make a deal that he will testify in court against all the other suspects if they give him some time off. Although I don't believe any deal is going to be given unless Michael is, the deal. Show us where Michael is and you'll get a deal. But that doesn't mean that Stacey Wondra may not testify in court against others, right? He's the one who is distancing himself from doing everything and blaming 3 other people for the abduction and murder of Michael. That means he could very well testify against the other 3. It is time, Adrian and Brandon, that you do yourselves a favor and go talk to Fruitland Police. Or don't. I could give 2 shits whether you do or not. Yes, I want Michael to come home. Don't get me wrong. But I also want your asses spending the rest of your lives in prison, if not getting the DP, because yes, I agree with the DP, especially in such disgusting things like child abduction and murder. But you can either do yourself a favor or not. It ain't no sweat off my back or anybody else's back. We just want Michael home. And if you want to give that up, give it up. And if you don't, when you're arrested, you'll be kicking your ass for not doing something, for not saying something, for not making a deal. And that's on you. Just like it's on you right now not saying a damn word when you know where Michael is, Brandon. Everybody is seeing the real you already. They're seeing that the person that could give the Vaughan family peace still doesn't want to talk. And it's your right. You don't have to talk. But it isn't making you look very well. And the reason you're scared to talk to law enforcement is because you don't want everybody to know you're a monster. Just like Stacey Wondra didn't want everyone to know he was a monster. But we already know who the 4 monsters are in Michael Vaughan's case. Sarah Wondra, Stacey Wondra, Adrian Lucien, and Brandon Shirtliff. If you have any information, you want to collect over $50,000, you want to call and talk to the tip line anonymously, do whatever it is you have to do to get that off your shoulders to make your heart feel better, and call in a tip at the Fruitland Police Department, 208-642-6006, or email findmichael@fruitland.org. If you see something, say something. No tip is too big or too small. Law enforcement will decide whether or not your tip is credible. Just call it in. Call in that tip. It's still an ongoing investigation, and we want Michael home. His family wants him to come home so he can be laid to rest properly. These 4 suspects will face justice. Michael Vaughan will get justice. The Vaughan family is never giving up. Monkey's Army is never giving up. We are always going to be here tapping on all of the shoulders of the people that have something to do with Michael Vaughan's abduction and murder. We're never going away. Yes, it's frustrating that Adrian Lucien and Brandon Shirtliff are walking the streets, but we also need to be a little bit thankful for that, because if they were in jail and they were all being tried at once, somebody could go free. A mistake could be made, and we don't want that. We have one opportunity, one chance to make sure that it's done right. And Stacey Wondra, when he does, because I fully believe that he will spend the rest of his life in prison, if not get the DP. And when that happens and the other suspects see it, maybe that's what will make these other suspects crawl out of the woodwork. Maybe they're just peeking around, waiting to see what's going to happen to Stacey Wondra. Well, September 14th is right around the corner. That's when his trial starts. And that's when you, Brandon, you, Adrian, you, Sarah, will see exactly what happens to Stacey Wondra. I do not believe he will leave a free man. I do not believe it. Stacey Wondra believes it. Certain people out there that are ignorant thinks that they can help attorneys make it happen when all that person is doing is helping Stacey Wondra spend the rest of his life in prison. You cannot get a person off with wild conspiracy theories. Stay away from the rumors, the misinformation. Don't spread it around because it spreads like wildflower. Wildflower. We already know that. Listen to the facts. Go to Monkey Monday. Watch at the round table. Come here. There's so many places you can find the facts. Go to Fruitland Police Department's Facebook. Go to their page. Find the facts. Talk about the facts. Debunk the bullshit. Call in a tip, 208-642-6006, or email findmichael@fruitland.org. Michael deserves to come home. None of this should have ever happened to Michael Joseph Vaughan. He was a 5-year-old little boy leaving his house to go find kids to play with. It was that simple. And unfortunately, there were monsters in the neighborhood. And the case and listening to details has become harder and harder to listen to. I understand that. But we have to keep fighting. Monkey's Army has to keep fighting for justice with the Vaughan family. And if anybody's here that believes that the family has anything to do with Michael Vaughan's disappearance, just leave now. I don't even want you here. I really don't. Brandon, Adrian, hope you both, I lost you there for a second. Hope you both suit orange. Thank you, Chuck Anderson's granddaughter, for being here. Just looking here. One at a time is often effective for prosecution of group murders like the Addison family, building case after case, conviction after conviction. Exactly. And that's what we want. We want convictions. We don't want anybody getting off. Beverly Lawyer says, you know where Michael is, Brandon, Shirtliff, and Sarah Wondra, and Adrian Lucian. It's time to bring Monkey home. Monkey's Army is strong, supportive, and massive. He will end up in prison for life. Brandy says, prayers, love, and light. Everything is appreciated and expressed. I appreciate each and every one of you. On my word. We are not going away. We are growing bigger and stronger every day, Monkey's Army. And we are growing bigger and stronger. We really are. Justice is coming. Just looking up here. Brandy says, all we have ever asked for is to bring Michael home. You took away the chance for him to come home safely. Now, let him come home to be at peace with his family. You owe Michael your lives. Such a strong message right there, directly to suspects in Michael Vaughan's case, and especially Brandon Shirtliff. You all do owe your lives to Michael Joseph Vaughan, and we will make sure you get justice. It is time to tell the Vaughan family where Michael Vaughan is. Brandon Shirtliff, Adrian Lucian, Brandy says, where is Michael Joseph Vaughan? He'll come home, Brandy. He will. I do believe he will come home. And Shannon brings up a good point. Here's the thing. The judge doesn't have to honor the deal either. So even if you make a deal, the honor, the judge doesn't have to honor it. The missing advocate says deals can happen right up to the trial if Stacey leads them to Michael and helps convict others. Rogue says, I am so sorry, Brandy. He reminds me of a nephew, same age as Will. It is. It's just absolutely heartbreaking. TikTok, Adrian. TikTok, all suspects. Anytime, Brandy, I try to get every life, if not, I share everything. And we really appreciate everybody sharing Michael's beautiful face. TikTok, Brandon. Criminal Mad, thank you for being here. All in the tanks. Oh my God, a cute fake cry and then switch back to zero emotion. I have experience. Yeah, it's disgusting, you guys. Thank you guys all for being here. I really do appreciate you so very much. And I know the Vaughan family appreciates you coming tonight and being here. I have to load up some more videos. Don't know if I will be live tomorrow or not. Maybe I can get a premiere up. I don't know how long this video will take to upload to YouTube. My last one took forever. I may be able to switch it over to a premiere though. So we'll see how that goes. Monkey's Army will always stand with, beside, and behind Brandy and your family. Yes, we will, McSporin. Thank you for coming all the way from Scotland. Lynn says, we will never give up. This is Brandy's sister, and we won't. We will never give up, everybody. We're here to the very, very end. Thank you guys all so much for coming in tonight. I love you guys. If I don't see you tomorrow, have a great weekend.